Good afternoon. It's Arlo in Vernon, BC, calling today, and it's February the 8th, 2025. We're at about, I don't know, 8, 9 degrees below freezing for a few days here. It's been cooler, and but snow is maybe half an inch to a quarter to half an inch out on the pavement out here. That's about it. And it comes and goes. It'll go away again. If that's the case, we've only had a couple of days of cool weather, not really winter. We had no snow this winter to speak of. There are lots of snow up on the ski hill. Yeah, I go up there, part way up there every Sunday, and they've got, regular snow. And up at the ski hill, they got, feet and feet and feet of snow, many feet of snow. So we've had a pretty warm, mild, I should say, not warm, mild winter. And, we're right next to a big lake, 90-mile long lake here. And it, leaves pretty much high humidity around here. So if it's a small, light wind, at all, yeah, I'll tell you, it feels like 20 below. It just goes right through you because it's moist. And but normally we don't get much wind here. That's a good thing. I hope you can excuse my poor voice. It's getting worse. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something today that's been bothering me a bit. Well, a bit, most likely for 40 years. And that is the idea, like, I think I was in my 80s when I realized, just plain realized, that what Jesus Christ said in his 3.5 years that he was preaching on this planet, that everything he said was absolutely true. And I believe that everything that God has said through his prophets and all these people who wrote books and did stuff, that he inspired them to do that. Now, I believe that like 100%, not 80, 90, no doubt about anything, no doubt, no what ifs, nothing. And it finally came to me, I've been going to school since I was 7, 8 years old, to Sunday schools and stuff like that, and to church. I was always, I wasn't every Sunday churchgoer, but I always leaned that way. And I baptized, Catholic kind of baptized, where you just get sprinkled. When I was a baby, and I was confirmed in the church, married in the church, and all that sort of stuff. So it isn't that going to church did anything. Well, I guess it did in a way. But it came over me like all of a sudden, sort of. And I'd known it for a long time that God was real, that was for sure. Now, that made a believer out of me. And without any hesitations, no back down, nothing, it's caused me a lot of trouble in my family because I wouldn't agree with their homosexual ideas. And for that reason, they've basically, what do you call it? ostracized me. My daughter, not my son so much, but my daughter. Now, the thing is, that's not good, and for their sake, it definitely isn't good. I wish they would wake up to that, but you know, once somebody gets entrenched in a certain way, you know, and I didn't realize it, but I read later and I understood that God said that if they became fixed in an unbeliever fashion, or fixed on the beliefs of the world, which meant you went along with whatever the world had, that he would allow them to do that, and they would end up having what he called a reprobate mind, which means you have no conscience, no remorse, not for anything, no conscience for nothing. And when you lose your conscience, you lose the idea that you are responsible to God. And that means you have no fear of God. And he allows that to happen. He says, okay, then I'll allow you to be taken over by a reprobate mind, and that'll be it for you. Now, we had a incident happen early on in our married life. Our youngest son, 4 years old, caught a deadly disease, blood disease of some kind, and basically he was given 2 weeks to live. And as it turned out, I was able to get a hold of this preacher in Edmonton. He had big rallies, sort of things, in the Edmonton Jubilee auditoriums in Edmonton, and I had listened to him for a while. And when that happened, I called him and I asked him if he'd help pray for him to heal my son. And that was on a Friday night. And we picked him up on Sunday. They phoned us and said, you can come and get him, he's fine. So he was in there Friday night, Saturday night, picked him up on Sunday. Now, that's no coincidence there. Can't be any, because, you know, the specialist had given him 2 weeks to live for sure. And we asked this guy to pray for him and ask God to heal him, and he did. Because there's no other explanation. We took him home. The specialist who we went to see, I met him in the hallway when I picked up my son, and he wouldn't look at me. He looked up the other way and walked by, which I guess he pretty well had to do. Now, that's a verified miracle. I don't know what else to call it. And I remember my wife, I asked her if she would agree to pray for him, and yes, she said yes, oh yes, yes. But I knew very well that she was a non-believer. She would not believe in God or Jesus or anything. And very secular. Now, she was grateful when we brought him home. She was grateful as all get out. But then she turned around and said, no, I don't. You and your damn religion. Well, it's not my religion, you know. So here's the thing. It takes more than a miracle to actually believe in God and to believe in Jesus. It takes more than a miracle. A miracle didn't do it. And from what I understand, that's happened many times. Once the miracle is over and you got what you want, you say, I don't care. Sad, very, very sad. But it takes more than a miracle to believe in God. Now, why is that? Are we built so carnal and so greedy, hard, whatever, that we can't do it? Actually, it appears that only God can do that. Only God can. He said, Jesus said, God has to draw you to Him for you to be saved. You have to be drawn to Jesus to be saved. Jesus is the one who saves you. Jesus is the one who will judge you. And if you're not in His book of life, that's it. No good. Now the people that are going to be in this first resurrection, as far as I can understand, are people that must be in His book of life, because there's no second death for them, as far as I know. Now, when you analyze this a bit, and you realize that way back in history, way back, before the eons, before the earth was populated with anything, that God the Father and the Word agreed that the Word would become flesh and that He would die in the place of all the people that God was going to create to take their place, because they wouldn't be able to keep His laws. And His law is, if you break my law, break my commandments, the penalty is death. So if He was a just God, and He is a just God, means He would have to kill every single one. He couldn't get a family. So Jesus agreed to do this in eons before it ever happened. Now those kind of time frames, we can't visualize that. But anyway, according to the Bible, it says that He did. The other thing is, God knows exactly who is going to be in His kingdom and who isn't. If He knows the hairs on your head, and He can call every star by its name, and He knows when a sparrow falls to the ground, He knows if you're going to be in His kingdom. He won't tell you that, but He knows it. But He wants you to voluntarily want to be in His kingdom with Him as your father, and to live with Him forever. And He wants to know that you want that. He could, if He forces you to do it, it's not the same. He doesn't accept that, and I can see that. So this whole business of what you believe is totally important. It's the whole thing. And it's the funniest thing. Well, it's funny to me at least, because most things aren't like that. Most things is you have to earn it somehow. You have to pay for it somehow. You have to work your way up. This is not that way at all. This is a gift of God, and no one can boast. And the way it looks, I guess a lot of people must be predestined or something, because God knows everything, so he must know who it is, and he must know who is going to be, and then who is already predestined. He would know that. We don't know that, but he would know that. And we knowing it can't change anything. And so getting back to the idea of preachers preaching this, that, and everything else, I guess it's okay. They try to give you the history of everything and what's involved, and that God is real, and the world says BS. It's not. It's evolution. It's not creation. Well, any reasonable person at all can realize it's not evolution. There's no such thing. It's like we're having a winter with no snow. That's rare. But it's most likely happened many times before. That doesn't mean there's global warming. But there are people in different government agencies and whatever else, and basically the secular community, they're not really full-fledged atheists, but they're next thing to it. Say there's a big danger of global warming, which is going to melt the ice cap and is going to flood everything, and and we're going to have to fight this climate change, even if it kills you, which it would. And God says, no, I'm going to create a new heaven and a new earth. This heaven and earth is going to disappear. It's a disposable planet and a disposable universe. The permanent one has not come into effect yet, but it's coming. Now, when you look at that, that changes everything that people should believe. You know, you can't take it with you. They know that. And what I have a tough time understanding is how can people justify living on this planet if they don't believe? I mean, why are they here then? I mean, I've got that in several books I wrote. Why are you here? I've said plainly that you're not here, you're not born and to be here to go to school, get married, raise a family, work at a job, retire and die, and that's it. Goodbye. That's not what you're here for. You are here for one reason alone, and that is you're here to be a projected or potential child of God, but basically a son of God. Now, I may as well say what I say in my books and stuff, that it'll be son. If you're a woman, you'll be a son. You won't be a woman in God's kingdom, because there's no two sexes. And there's a good chance of that being a pretty good idea, because look at the problems there is on earth with that. Nothing but continual battle. There's they said there's no marriage, there's no childbirth or anything in that kingdom. So there's no requirements for a woman to be there. No requirements for her womb to carry a child. Now, the thing is, a man is going to be also changed into an eternal son of some kind, not like we are here. and the woman has just as good chance or reason or whatever to be changed into the same kind of person. Only not woman. It'll be a son. Now, that's not hard to do. I think women should actually like that, because I sometimes think they're always jealous of men for the reasons that they do. They do things that are obviously, you know, try to run men down and make jokes of men and whatever else, because they feel men are superior or something. They're only superior in the fact that God says that that a woman is subject to the man in marriage and whatever else. Anyway, it's kind of getting off the subject a little bit. The thing is, I'm going back to this business of what does it really take to be able to be in God's kingdom, or basically to be in Jesus Christ's book of life. I believe what Jesus said. He said, no one has gone to heaven except the one who came from heaven, him. He says, when you die, you go to sleep with your fathers. That makes sense to me too. And he says you await there until you're called. When you die, your spirit leaves you and goes back to God, who gave it to you. You didn't have it. It was given to you. And it went back when you died. It most likely has a total controlled record of every breath you've taken, everything you've ever said, everything you've ever thought or done. One of the best things I think that God offers people is forgiveness. You can go to God and ask for forgiveness. Because, let's face it, it's very hard to keep God's commandments perfect. It's hard. Your mind wanders away, start thinking about other things, and this and that, and next thing you know, you're doing things that you're definitely not supposed to do. And if you do them, you're subject to death. In fact, the whole world is subject to death. All the population of people in the world. Yeah, it's but it's, I mean, it really is a hard thing to understand that it takes something that powerful to clear the channels or clear the mind or whatever that allows you to believe what God has said. And the thing is, God doesn't lie. He has no reason to lie. Jesus certainly didn't lie. And that you can trust every single word they said and everywhere else. I believe the Bible, it was inspired, I'm sure of that, and given to the people on this planet. The handbook, it is a handbook. 32,000 verses, not pages, verses. And I don't know how many chapters of this and that, quite a few. But it covers everything. I don't think there's anything you can talk about or whatever that isn't covered. Now, no human could write a book like that on their own. When Moses wrote the book of Genesis, he wasn't there when the world was created. He didn't know all those things. Yet he wrote about them. So God inspired him to what to write. I'm sure that God inspired all of them what to write. Because it's, you know, the book is true. Yeah, it's quite a thing to be born on this planet and live on it and realize, I mean, like I did when I was 15 years old, I realized that I had to make my mind up about something. And I kind of figured out it was that. And otherwise, what was I here for? And I think that goes for every single human being. Hopefully it does, anyway. Makes you wonder what they do in some jungles in Africa that never heard of anybody or anything. And not just Africa, a lot of places. I imagine there's a lot of places in South America, tribes of people who never heard of anything. And there's no doubt a lot of them in China, India. Yeah, they've come up with, you know, some kind of gods of their own, but well, anyway, I'm going to close off with that now, with the idea that I want you to think about how important it is for you to ask Jesus to save you, which means God will have to call you to him. You have to be called. Now, they call it called, but that's what happens. You are drawn to him, and you know, I don't know how anyone can explain or you know, lay out the plan of how important it is to believe in God and Jesus Christ and take him as his offer. His offer is, if you believe in me and that I sent my son here to die for you, you will be saved. Now, how many are going to do that? You know, to me, it's just terrible to think. I mean, why it is because I listen to people all around me all the time. There's a big part of them, most of them, at least most of them, they don't know anything about that. They don't care anything about that. And I think to myself, and you're going to live here and try to live another day and take more pills and do whatever, and then die and have no hope at all. Nothing. You've had a failed life, total failure of living on this planet and ending up rotting in the ground. And maybe even going to hell, I don't know. There's all kinds of talk about that. Thrown into the lake of fire, it says. But I mean, I do believe it says they will perish. There would be no sense for them to be tortured day and night forever. That would be. Says that Satan and the demons will. That's what they'll end up doing. See, God is not a friendly grandfather down the street. No, he's a fierce God. God's so powerful that he can do anything. Anything. Unlimited power. Yet people have lost their fear of God. And if you lose your fear of God, that'll happen to you. Because then you have no idea how powerful he is. And if that's the case, you lose. There's no doubt about that. So I would say, if anything, you would think it over really hard and realize that it's a time for you to take the offer. And hopefully God will take you up on it. Anyway, hope the miracles keep coming somehow. Thank you very much, and God bless you.